10 mind-blowing facts about Pope Francis, his life, and his legacy. What if one man's choices could change the course of history? From humble beginnings as a bouncer in Argentina to becoming the first Latin American pope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, better known as Pope Francis, has redefined leadership with humility, courage, and compassion. Welcome to One Good Fact. Today, we're diving into 10 mind-blowing facts about Pope Francis, his life, legacy, and the bold steps he took to transform the Catholic Church. Whether you're here for inspiration, education, or just curiosity, stick around, because this story is unlike anything you've heard before. Fact number 1. Did you know the Pope who changed history was once a bouncer? Have you ever wondered what it takes to become one of the most influential leaders in the world? Well, here's something surprising. Before he became Pope Francis, Jorge Mario Bergoglio spent his teenage years working as a bouncer at a nightclub in Buenos Aires. That's right, the man who, till his death on April 21, 2025, led over 1 billion Catholics worldwide, once kept rowdy crowds in check. How did this happen, and how did it shape his future? Let's dive into this fascinating fact. Long before donning the papal robes, young Jorge worked as a security guard outside nightclubs in Argentina. Growing up in a middle-class family, he needed to earn money while pursuing his education. This job wasn't just about keeping order. It taught him valuable lessons about human nature, conflict resolution, and understanding people from all walks of life. Imagine the stories he must have heard during those late nights guarding doors. This early experience may have contributed to his empathetic leadership style later in life. As Pope, Francis was known for connecting with everyone, from world leaders to the homeless. His ability to listen and mediate comes naturally, perhaps because of skills honed on the streets of Buenos Aires. Think about it. How many other popes can say they started their journey by breaking up bar fights? After his time as a bouncer, Jorge entered seminary school and eventually joined the Jesuits, where his focus shifted entirely to faith and service. But even then, his past shaped his approach. For instance, when elected Pope in 2013, he chose simplicity over extravagance, living in a modest apartment instead of the grand apostolic palace. This humility echoes the down-to-earth attitude he likely developed in his younger days. So next time you think of Pope Francis, remember that behind the cassock was once a guy who knew how to handle a crowd. Fact number 2. What makes Pope Francis the first non-European pope in over 1,200 years? When was the last time someone broke a tradition that had stood for over a millennium? In 2013, history was made when Jorge Mario Bergoglio became the first non-European pope since Gregory III in 741 AD. What does this mean for the Catholic Church, and why is it such a big deal? Stick around to find out. Before Francis, every pope for more than 1,200 years hailed from Europe, a continent deeply intertwined with the Church's roots. But in 2013, the cardinals shocked the world by electing an Argentine Jesuit priest named Jorge Bergoglio. Born and raised in Buenos Aires, he brought a fresh perspective to the Vatican, representing not only Latin America, but also the global South. Why did they choose him? At the time, the Catholic Church faced declining membership in Europe and growing numbers in Africa, Asia, and South America. Electing a pope from the Southern Hemisphere signaled inclusivity and adaptability. It also highlighted the Church's commitment to addressing poverty and inequality, issues close to Francis's heart. After all, this is the same man who famously said, "How I would love a poor church for the poor." Francis's election didn't just change geography, it changed the tone of the papacy. Unlike his predecessors, he rejected lavish accommodations, opting instead for a simple lifestyle that resonated globally. He also prioritized environmental stewardship, issuing the groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si', which called for urgent action against climate change. These moves reflect his unique background, a blend of European heritage — his parents were Italian immigrants — and Latin American culture. By choosing Francis, the Church sent a powerful message. The future belongs to everyone, not just Europe. Fact number 3. Why did Pope Francis choose to live like a common man? What would you do if handed the keys to one of the most luxurious palaces in the world? For most people, moving into such opulence might seem like a dream come true, but not Pope Francis. When he was elected Pope in 2013, he did something no other modern pontiff had done. He turned down the grand apostolic palace and chose to live in a modest two-room apartment instead. Why would someone with so much power opt for simplicity? Let's explore this incredible decision. After being elected Pope, Francis made headlines by refusing to move into the ornate papal apartments where his predecessors resided. Instead, he stayed in Casa Santa Marta, the Vatican guest house, which offers a simpler community living arrangement. He explained that this choice was better for his psychological health, emphasizing his preference for a humble lifestyle over extravagance. This decision wasn't just symbolic. It reflected Francis's broader vision for the Catholic Church. Throughout his papacy, he consistently advocated for humility and service, urging clergy and laity alike to reject materialism and focus on helping others. His actions aligned perfectly with his words. But why does this matter? By rejecting luxury, Francis sent a clear message to Catholics worldwide. Leadership isn't about wealth or status. It's about serving others. This approach has resonated deeply, especially among younger generations disillusioned by institutional corruption. Moreover, his example extends beyond personal comfort. He has pushed for financial reforms within the Vatican itself, aiming to ensure transparency and ethical use of resources. So next time you think about what makes a great leader, remember Pope Francis and his tiny apartment. Fact number 4. How did Pope Francis tackle the scourge of child sexual abuse? Imagine inheriting an institution plagued by decades of scandal. What steps would you take to heal its wounds? When Pope Francis assumed the papacy in 2013, one of his biggest challenges was addressing the pervasive issue of child sexual abuse within the Church. Today, we'll uncover how he tackled this devastating problem head-on and transformed the conversation around accountability. From the beginning of his papacy, Francis recognized that child sexual abuse wasn't just a church issue. It was a societal concern. In 2019, he called for an all-out battle against the sexual abuse of minors by clergy, labeling it as abominable and demanding that it be erased entirely. To achieve this, he implemented sweeping measures, including creating task forces to investigate allegations and holding bishops accountable for covering up crimes. Francis's efforts marked a turning point in how the Church handled these cases. Unlike previous popes who often downplayed or ignored accusations, Francis publicly acknowledged the pain caused by abuse survivors. In 2018, he penned a powerful letter to the global Catholic community, vowing that the Church would never again conceal clergy misconduct. This promise signaled a new era of transparency and justice. While critics argue that progress has been slow, there's no denying the impact of Francis's initiatives. Under his leadership, the Vatican released guidelines for safeguarding children and established independent commissions to review cases. Most importantly, he opened channels for dialogue with victims, ensuring their voices were heard. Though challenges remain, Pope Francis's commitment to eradicating abuse demonstrates his determination to restore trust in the Church. It's a reminder that real change starts with confronting uncomfortable truths. Fact number 5. How did Pope Francis revolutionize Vatican finances? What happens when centuries of tradition meet modern-day accountability? For Pope Francis, the answer was clear: shake things up. After becoming Pope in 2013, one of his boldest moves was overhauling the Vatican's notoriously opaque financial system. But how exactly did he tackle corruption and bring transparency to an institution steeped in secrecy? Let's break it down. When Francis took office, the Vatican Bank, officially known as the Institute for Works of Religion, IOR, was mired in scandals involving money laundering and mismanagement. Determined to clean house, Francis introduced sweeping reforms designed to increase oversight and eliminate illicit activities. By 2020, he transformed the existing watchdog body into the Financial Supervision and Information Authority, ASIF, giving it stronger investigative powers. These changes weren't just about punishing wrongdoing. They were about restoring trust. For decades, critics accused the Vatican of operating like a shadowy offshore bank, shielding wealth from scrutiny. Francis knew that without reform, the Church risked losing credibility in an era where transparency is paramount. His efforts have included publishing annual reports, implementing stricter auditing processes, and prosecuting those involved in illegal transactions. While progress hasn't been perfect, some insiders resisted change. There's no denying the impact. Under Francis's leadership, millions of euros tied to suspect accounts were frozen, and several high-profile figures were removed from power. These actions reflect his commitment to ethical governance, echoing his belief that money should serve, not rule. Today, the Vatican's finances are far from flawless, but they're heading in the right direction thanks to Francis's vision. Who knew a pope could be such a savvy accountant? Fact number 6. Why was Pope Francis called a global superstar? Can a religious leader also become a global celebrity? Believe it or not, Pope Francis achieved just that. Known for drawing massive crowds wherever he went, this humble pontiff has captured hearts worldwide with his message of peace, compassion, and inclusivity. So what made him so magnetic? Let's find out. After his election in 2013, Francis traveled extensively, visiting over 50 countries across 6 continents. From addressing the United Nations to meeting refugees on Greek islands, he used these trips to champion causes close to his heart: climate justice, interfaith dialogue, and support for migrants. His charisma and authenticity shone through every interaction, whether he was blessing a child or comforting a grieving family. Part of Francis's appeal lay in his relatability. Unlike many leaders who remain distant and formal, he embraced people warmly, often stopping to greet individuals in wheelchairs or kiss babies. This approachability resonated deeply, especially among younger generations disillusioned by traditional authority figures. Additionally, his progressive stances on issues like LGBTQ+ rights and environmental protection earned him admirers beyond Catholic circles. But it's not just charm. His words carried weight too. Take Laudato Si's, his groundbreaking encyclical on climate change, which challenged world leaders to prioritize sustainability over profit. Or consider his calls for unity amid rising global tensions, urging nations to work together for the common good. Through these efforts, Francis transcended religion, became a moral voice for humanity. No wonder Time magazine named him Person of the Year in 2013. Truly, this pope proved that kindness can be contagious. Fact number 7. What was it like to have 2 popes at the same time? Can you imagine having 2 bosses in the same office? For much of Pope Francis's reign, the Vatican faced a unique situation: 2 living popes coexisting within its walls. While Francis led the Church, his predecessor, Benedict XVI, continued to reside in the Vatican after resigning in 2013. How did this unprecedented arrangement work, and what did it mean for the Catholic Church? Let's dive into this fascinating chapter of history. When Benedict XVI stepped down due to health concerns, he became the first pope to resign in nearly 600 years. Instead of returning to Germany, he chose to live out his days in a monastery inside Vatican City. This decision created an extraordinary dynamic. For nearly a decade, the world witnessed 2 men wearing white, one actively leading the Church, the other quietly supporting from the sidelines. The presence of 2 popes was both symbolic and practical. On one hand, it highlighted the continuity of the papacy. Benedict's resignation paved the way for Francis's election, allowing fresh leadership during turbulent times. On the other hand, it raised questions about potential conflicts or confusion. Would Benedict's lingering influence undermine Francis's authority? Remarkably, the 2 maintained a respectful relationship, with Benedict famously referring to himself as the Pope Emeritus and avoiding public interference in church affairs. Benedict's death in December 2022 finally left Francis alone on the papal stage, marking the end of an era. Throughout their shared time, the arrangement served as a testament to humility and unity, 2 values central to Francis's vision for the Church. It also demonstrated adaptability, proving that even ancient institutions can evolve when necessary. Having 2 popes wasn't just unusual. It was a powerful reminder that faith transcends individual leaders. Fact number 8. How did Pope Francis shape the future of the papacy through cardinal appointments? When it comes to shaping the future, few things matter more than who holds power next. During his papacy, Pope Francis made bold moves to ensure his progressive vision would endure long after he was gone. One of his most strategic decisions was appointing nearly 80% of the cardinal electors tasked with choosing the next pope. But how will these appointments influence the Church's trajectory? Let's explore. Cardinals play a crucial role in selecting the pope, making their composition vital for determining the direction of the Church. Recognizing this, Francis prioritized appointing individuals aligned with his values, men committed to reform, inclusivity, and social justice. Many hails from regions like Africa, Asia, and Latin America, reflecting the Church's growing presence in the global South. By stacking the College of Cardinals with allies, Francis increased the likelihood that his successor will continue his policies. These include greater emphasis on environmental stewardship, outreach to marginalized communities, and dialogue with non-Catholic faiths. However, this strategy hasn't been without controversy. Traditionalists have criticized him for sidelining conservative voices, accusing him of politicizing the selection process. Despite pushback, Francis's approach signaled a desire for lasting change. Consider his landmark document, Predicate Evangelium, which allows laypeople, including women, to head Vatican offices for the first time in history. Such reforms reflect his belief in modernizing the Church, while staying true to its core mission. Whether you agree with his methods or not, there's no denying that Francis has left an indelible mark on the institution. The real test? Watching how his legacy unfolds under future leadership. Fact number 9. How did Pope Francis overcome illness to continue his mission? What does resilience look like when you're leading one of the world's largest religious institutions? For Pope Francis, it meant battling serious illness while continuing to serve with unwavering dedication. In his final days, he survived a severe bout of double pneumonia and even made a public appearance just days before his death. How did this man of faith persevere through such challenges? Let's take a closer look. In 2025, Pope Francis spent 38 days hospitalized for pneumonia, a life-threatening condition that forced him into an extended recovery period. Despite his frail health, he remained committed to his duties, making appearances and offering blessings whenever possible. On Easter Sunday, merely one day before his passing, he greeted cheering crowds from a Pope-mobile in St. Peter's Square, a testament to his determination to stay connected with the faithful. Francis's ability to push forward, despite physical limitations, speaks volumes about his character. Known for his humility and compassion, he often emphasized the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. This mindset likely fueled his resolve to continue serving even when his body was failing him. As he once said, "Life is not about avoiding storms but learning to dance in the rain." His resilience resonated globally, inspiring millions who admired his courage. Even critics acknowledged his strength during difficult times, recognizing that his leadership style prioritized action over comfort. While some questioned whether his age and health hindered his effectiveness, others saw his endurance as proof of divine purpose. Regardless of perspective, there's no denying that Pope Francis's final acts embodied the spirit of service he championed throughout his papacy. Truly, his legacy is one of grit and grace. Fact number 10. What is Pope Francis's lasting legacy of compassion and change? When historians write about Pope Francis centuries from now, what will they say defined his papacy? Will it be his groundbreaking reforms, his advocacy for the poor, or his call for global unity? The truth is, his legacy encompasses all these aspects and more. Today, we'll explore how Pope Francis transformed the Catholic Church, and perhaps the world, through compassion and change. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony as Pope in 2013, Francis signaled a new era. He chose the name Francis, inspired by Saint Francis of Assisi, a saint renowned for his love of nature and the marginalized. True to this inspiration, he championed causes close to his heart, caring for the environment, defending migrants' rights, and promoting interfaith dialogue. One of his most significant contributions was Laudato Si's, a revolutionary encyclical calling for urgent action against climate change. This document challenged world leaders to prioritize sustainability over profit, earning praise from environmentalists and activists alike. Similarly, his outreach to marginalized groups, including refugees, LGBTQ+ individuals, and victims of clergy abuse, marked a shift toward inclusivity within the Church. Critics may argue that his progressive stances alienated conservative factions, but supporters see him as a beacon of hope in divisive times. Whether through financial reforms, allowing laypeople to lead Vatican offices, or simply living modestly, Francis consistently modeled the values he preached. His death marks the end of an extraordinary chapter, yet his impact will ripple through generations. After all, true legacies aren't measured by years, they're shaped by lasting change. Now that you've seen how Pope Francis changed the world through simplicity, resilience, and vision, it's your turn to make an impact. Ask yourself, what small step can you take today to create positive change in your community? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and tag 3 friends who need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. Together, let's keep the spirit of Pope Francis alive, one act of kindness at a time.